For nearly 3 years, some of the smartest people in Silicon Valley believed they were witnessing the future. A revolutionary AI startup had appeared almost out of nowhere, promising something that sounded impossible. The company claimed it could replace entire software teams with artificial intelligence. No engineers, no coding, no long development cycles. Users would simply describe the app they wanted, and the AI would build it automatically. Investors became obsessed immediately. Executives called it the next trillion-dollar company. The media described it as the future of software development. And within months, hundreds of millions of dollars started pouring into the company. But behind the polished presentations, behind the futuristic demos, and behind the billion-dollar valuation, the AI barely existed. Most of the magic was being done by humans behind the scenes. And by the time the truth finally came out, the illusion had already spread too far to stop. In Silicon Valley, perception is everything. If enough people believe you are building the future, then you become the future, even if the entire thing is built on deception. For years, investors watched the company claim it had solved one of the hardest problems in technology: automated software creation through AI. It sounded revolutionary, but it also sounded impossible. Because it was. Behind the scenes, employees were panicking. Developers secretly completed tasks the AI was supposed to handle. Demos were manipulated. Outputs were manually edited. And somehow, almost nobody noticed until one whistleblower exposed everything. This is the story of how a fake AI startup fooled Silicon Valley, and why it could happen again. Eventually, the cracks started spreading. Slowly, quietly. One employee noticed demo outputs changing manually seconds before presentations. Another discovered that certain AI-generated features were actually being completed by overseas contractors. Internal dashboards looked suspicious. Performance metrics didn't match reality. And some employees started asking dangerous questions. How much of this actually works? Nobody answered directly. Instead, executives became defensive. Meetings became secretive. Teams were isolated from one another. Access permissions changed overnight. Employees were warned not to discuss internal systems publicly. That's when fear replaced excitement. One engineer later described the company as a theater production pretending to be a tech company. And honestly, that might have been the perfect description, because nearly everything inside the company existed to preserve the illusion. The startup wasn't operating like a technology company anymore. It was operating like a performance. And the people inside it were becoming increasingly uncomfortable. Some employees wanted to leave. Others convinced themselves the company would eventually solve its problems. But a few people started collecting evidence. Internal screenshots, messages, presentation documents, private recordings. The deeper they looked, the worse things became. Some investors had allegedly been shown misleading demonstrations. Capabilities were exaggerated. Performance numbers were inflated. Failures were hidden completely. And now employees faced a terrifying decision: expose the company or stay silent, because whistleblowers rarely walk away unharmed. Careers get destroyed. Friends disappear. Lawyers arrive. And Silicon Valley protects its own. For a while, the employee hesitated. Then the leaks began. Then came the demos. The demos changed everything. Potential investors entered sleek conference rooms with glowing screens and polished presentations. Executives spoke confidently in corporate language. Engineers pretended to monitor complex systems. And then came the magic trick. A prompt appeared on screen. Build a food delivery app. Moments later, a fully designed interface appeared. Investors were stunned. Questions disappeared instantly. Checks got signed almost immediately. But behind the curtain, something completely different was happening. Developers manually prepared outputs before presentations. Employees secretly completed tasks the AI couldn't handle. Some automated systems were actually outsourced workers operating behind the scenes. Human beings pretending to be artificial intelligence. And the craziest part is that this behavior wasn't even unusual. Silicon Valley has a phrase for it: fake it till you make it. The tech industry often treats deception like strategy. As long as the company eventually builds the technology, many people consider the lies acceptable. But this company crossed a line, because eventually, there was no difference between the product and the lie itself. Almost everything inside the startup existed to maintain the illusion. The office design, the branding, the presentations, the language, even the confidence. At one point, the company reportedly relied on large numbers of human contractors doing work investors believed was fully automated. People manually correcting outputs, fixing errors, completing unfinished tasks, pretending to be machine intelligence. And investors had no idea. As money poured into the startup, the illusion became stronger. Millions turned into tens of millions, then hundreds of millions. The valuation exploded, and suddenly, nobody wanted to question anything anymore, because questioning the company meant questioning the future itself. The startup expanded aggressively. Luxury offices appeared in expensive parts of the city. Massive hiring campaigns began. Influencers praised the technology online. The founder appeared on podcasts, magazine covers, and conference stages. Awards followed. Panels followed. Praise became constant. And slowly, the illusion became self-sustaining. Because once enough important people believe something, everyone else follows. Inside the company, employees started noticing problems. The AI struggled with simple tasks. Outputs were inconsistent. Basic requests sometimes failed completely. But leadership always had explanations. The system is still learning. The next update will fix it. We're scaling too fast. And honestly, most employees wanted to believe those explanations too. Because they weren't just building software anymore. They were building a myth. The founder understood psychology perfectly. He made employees feel like they were part of history, like they were changing the world, like doubting him meant doubting innovation itself. And that type of belief is powerful, especially in Silicon Valley, because the tech industry doesn't just worship intelligence. It worships vision, and vision can blind people. Every red flag had an explanation. Every inconsistency became part of the process. Every criticism sounded old-fashioned. The company weaponized optimism. If you questioned them, people said you simply didn't understand AI. And during the AI boom, nobody wanted to look stupid. So people stayed quiet, even when things stopped making sense. The timing could not have been more perfect. Artificial intelligence was exploding across the world. Every investor in Silicon Valley was terrified of missing the next technological revolution. And fear creates opportunity, especially for people willing to sell dreams. The founder looked exactly like the type of person Silicon Valley wanted to believe in. Confident, charismatic, visionary. He spoke less like a programmer and more like a prophet. Every interview sounded rehearsed. Every sentence felt designed to inspire belief. The company's promise was seductive. Imagine building an app without engineers, without expensive development teams, without months of coding. Just type what you want, and artificial intelligence builds it instantly. To investors, it sounded like magic. But in Silicon Valley, magic is often just marketing with better lighting. The company's demos became legendary. A few prompts appeared on screen. A sleek interface loaded, and suddenly, a functioning app appeared almost instantly. Investors were stunned. Media outlets called it revolutionary. Executives lined up to meet the founder. Almost overnight, the startup became one of the hottest companies in the AI industry. But there was something strange about the demonstrations. Something subtle. Something easy to ignore at first. The outputs looked too perfect, too controlled, too rehearsed. Still, nobody wanted to question it, because the company wasn't just selling software. It was selling inevitability, and that made it dangerous. Investors weren't buying a product. They were buying fear. Fear of missing the next Google. Fear of missing the next OpenAI. Fear of being left behind forever. And Silicon Valley has a weakness for certainty, especially fake certainty. For nearly 3 years, some of the smartest people in Silicon Valley believed they were witnessing the future. A revolutionary AI startup had appeared almost out of nowhere, promising something that sounded impossible. The company claimed it could replace entire software teams with artificial intelligence. No engineers, No coding, no long development cycles. Users would simply describe the app they wanted, and the AI would build it automatically. Investors became obsessed immediately. Executives called it the next trillion-dollar company. The media described it as the future of software development. And within months, hundreds of millions of dollars started pouring into the company. But behind the polished presentations, behind the futuristic demos, and behind the billion-dollar valuation, the AI barely existed. Most of the magic was being done by humans behind the scenes. And by the time the truth finally came out, the illusion had already spread too far to stop. In Silicon Valley, perception is everything. If enough people believe you are building the future, then you become the future, even if the entire thing is built on deception. For years, investors watched the company claim it had solved one of the hardest problems in technology: automated software creation through AI. It sounded revolutionary, but it also sounded impossible. Because it was. Behind the scenes, employees were panicking. Developers secretly completed tasks the AI was supposed to handle. Demos were manipulated. Outputs were manually edited. And somehow, almost nobody noticed until one whistleblower exposed everything. This is the story of how a fake AI startup fooled Silicon Valley and why it could happen again.